So the project that we're going to be doing today is pop-up hearts. I know we're focusing on hearts because this is the week of Valentine's, but the truth is the project that we're doing today can be adapted. You don't have to do hearts. You can do absolutely anything. What we're learning is the basic process. So hopefully it'll be a lot of fun to everyone. We will be using our journal, but not right now. So if you have your journal with you, you can go ahead and set that aside for now. We're going to start by working with our paper. So the supplies that we need for this week are going to be different types of paper, our glue stick that came in the kit, and a pair of scissors. Those are going to be our main supplies for our project today. There are a couple things that will be helpful but not necessary. It's helpful to have a ruler or a straight edge. I'll be using a ruler today. And it also is helpful to have a pen or pencil. And I'll be using a marker because it's a little easier to see on camera, I think. But those are some helpful supplies for today. So if you don't have your journal, that's okay. Because we're working outside of our journal today, we'll be able to add it into the journal later. But because the journal that comes in the kit is 5 by 8, I'm going to cut my paper down to that 5 by 8 size. So here's an example of how our pop-up card may turn out. Well, let me turn it the right way. So it's a typical pop-up card. You can see looking down on it, it has those 3 sections that pop out and they hold our shapes. So this is the basic pop-up card process, like template. And so you can see like I'm doing hearts today, but again, you can do any shape that goes with this. So we're going to start by doing this project today. So if you have a big piece of paper, go ahead and pull that out. I've got with me some construction paper, some cardstock, I have some scrapbooking paper, and then I have some images from a garden magazine as well. And so we're going to start off our process by building that base. So whatever big paper you have that you want to use, go ahead and pull that out. I'm going to do my piece of construction paper today. And because our journal is a 5 by 8 size, I'm going to cut my paper down just a little bit so it fits that size. So I'm just going to start off by folding my paper in half. So if you have your paper with you, go ahead and pull that out. Fold that paper in half. Now I'm going to take my journal. I'm going to stick the card in there so I can kind of get the size right. We want a 5 by 8 shape, so if you have a ruler, sometimes that helps. Or you can be like me and just kind of eyeball it a little bit. Either way is good. But I'm just going to kind of draw that edge out so I can cut it down so it's the right size of my journal. And again, it's about that 5 by 8 size. So I'm holding my piece of paper, I'm holding it on the fold, and I'm cutting those edges off to kind of make it the size of my journal. And this is our base today. I'm just kind of trimming it up a little bit. If you have a paper cutter, sometimes that's much easier to work with, but a pair of scissors work just fine. All right, so now that we cut that edge off, we have a card shape that fits our journal size. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull over these illustrated instructions. So we started off by folding our paper in half, making it the size we need it to be. That next step is to cut those tabs. Those tabs are what's going to make that pop out part, right? So going back to my example here, you can see the tabs here are holding up those pop out pieces. And so that's what we're going to cut to start with. And you can see that there are 3 tabs in there. That's what we're going to cut. We're going to make 3 tabs. One of the things I want to point out with this one is that you'll see that center tab is a little longer than the outside tabs, the first and last tab. And that's so those hearts, or whatever shape you're doing, has this layered look to it, right? It doesn't have to be the center one being longer. That's just kind of what we're doing today, but you can definitely play around with that. Like I said, the benefit of doing that longer tab is that you get that layered look with your cutout pieces. Okay? So that's what we're going to start off with today, is making those tabs. And so just like in those illustrated instructions, you can see those lines, those dotted lines are marking the tab spaces. That center one is a little longer than the outside tabs. So let's go ahead and make our tabs. I'm starting with my center here, and that's where I'm going to make my longest tab. And so I'm just going to take my ruler so I get a somewhat straight mark. And what I'm going to do is just draw on either side of my ruler here. And I'm going to go up about, for the size of my card, the size of our journal, I'm just going to go up about 2.5 inches-ish. So I'm going to kind of the halfway point in my card. Right. And again, it doesn't have to be, the middle one doesn't have to be longer, but the reason we do that longer one in the center is so we have that layered look. So it really is aesthetic reasons. And you can use just a regular pencil to do this part. I'm using a marker because it's a little easier to see on camera, but we're just making those kind of guiding lines. Okay? So I'm going to take my ruler and go to make my next mark. And just because it's easier this way, I'm going to make a mark on the other side of my ruler. So my ruler, one side is lining up against that mark I already drew. And so the other side, I'm going to go about 1.5 inches. So I'm going a little shorter. I'm making that second tab, right? So I have the longer one here, skipping this space. So I've got 2 tabs now. I have the longer one and a shorter one. So now I'm going to go to the other side of my center tab and do the same thing I did on that side. I'm going to put my ruler against that center mark and go up about 1.5 inches and then move over and match that, mark. So what we have now on our folded paper is I have a total of 6 marks, right? But each set is a set of 2. They're the same size. So my first 2 marks are the same, my center marks are the same, and my last 2 marks are the same. And again, I have my center mark is a little longer than my outside marks, and that's so I can have them at different levels, right? Layers. So they look stacked, right? So once we have that part, and you can see I was doing it on the fold, right? So I did my center mark, that was about 2.5 inches, and you can vary that for sure, about 2.5 inches. And then my outside marks were about 1.5 inches. Okay. And again, you can use a pencil so you can erase it for sure. I'm just using that marker so it's a little easier to see here. But my next step, after I make those marks, are to cut them, right? So I'm just going to go through with my scissors and start to cut those marks. So I cut that first tab. So one of the things that I'm going to do as I'm cutting, just to kind of help me see the tabs, is after I make those first 2 cuts, I'm going to go ahead and fold that tab up. Okay. Now I'm going to skip to my second tab here and cut the same. I'm going to cut that mark all the way up that line. So I've cut my second tab. And so just like I did that first one, I'm going to go ahead and fold that up. It just makes it easier to see where I'm going, right? And I'm going to do that to my last tab. And after I cut those 2 marks, I'm just going to fold that tab. So what I've got now are those 3 tabs that stick up. Those are going to be the base for our pop-up pieces. So once we have our pieces cut, let's go ahead and open our card up. Once we have it open up, we're going to pull those tabs that we just cut into the center. Kind of just push them in. So you can see I've got that tab, those tabs sticking up. We have that longer one on in the center, and then the shorter ones on the outside. Okay. So what we'll do is we'll just kind of fold it down to crease them. Okay. So we have those pop-up pieces. Okay. So going back, we took our paper, we folded it in half. We made it the size we need it to be. And then on that fold, we cut 3 tabs. The center one was a little bit longer than the outside 2, but we cut those tabs and opened it up and then pushed those tabs to the inside. And so what that does is it creates that pop-up part. So now we can glue whatever image or design or shape that we want on these pop-up pieces, right? So when you open that card, you have that pop-up portion. So our next step after we make that pop-up part is to put those shapes in there. And so what I'll be doing today are some little hearts in honor of the holiday that's coming up. So I have some fun pattern pieces that I was thinking about using for this piece today. I've got some polka dots and a grid and some flowers. And so what I'm going to do is start making some hearts. We can make them different sizes or all the same size. You can see, let me pull my example out. You can see in my example, I have some smaller hearts and some larger hearts. So I've kind of layered them up. So know that they can be all sorts of sizes. I know sometimes it's hard to make that shape without a pattern, but I'm going to take my magazine page here and kind of fold it in half. And this is how I'm going to make my heart, my first heart. Just kind of fold it in half. And then I'm going to draw half of my heart. And then make that cut. I'm cutting on the fold. So when I open it up, it'll give me that heart shape. And so that's just what we're going to do today. Now, no, I'm doing hearts today, but any shape you'd like to do is good. So after I cut it out, I can open it up and I have this heart shape of flowers. So if you are following along, go ahead and cut out your heart pieces today. I'm going to, like I said again, I'm just going to fold my papers in half and then draw that half a heart. So when I cut it out, I have a full-size heart, complete heart. And I'm doing some different sizes. So when I open it up, I have that heart shape. I'm gonna do these two. Flamingo hearts. I'm gonna do a flamingo heart. Again, just kind of making the hearts some different sizes, different shapes. course, you can do butterflies, you can do balloons, you can do flowers. There's no rule saying it has to be a certain way. But you can see the hearts that I'm coming up with now. They are some different sizes. That's good. I'm going to be using them for my pop-up pieces. And we can also layer those. I'm going to do another one with this piece here. And so you can do, we have the 3 tabs, so you can do 3 hearts. But you can also add some more to it. We're doing the 3 tabs today, but you can do just 1 tab if you want. There are ways to vary this for sure. So I'm going to do one more little heart here. I'm going to start with 5 hearts today. I've got my heart shapes. Okay. So now it's time for that gluing down part. So maybe you're still cutting out your hearts, and that's okay. Keep doing that. I'm just going to show how to kind of glue it down on our card here. So because this is a pop-up, right, we're popping it up, we're going to glue everything on the same side. So I'm just going to glue it on the side piece. I'm not going to glue it on the top pieces. That side piece is where we're going to stick all our shapes. And so let me pull my example out here. You can see I have all the hearts here are all facing one way. They're not on that top. And it's so when I open it up, I can see those images. I can see all those shapes clearly. Okay? And so that's what we'll do for this piece here. I'm going to focus on gluing everything on these front pieces of those tabs. So I'm just going to start gluing my heart pieces down. Of course, feel free to glue them however you like. It doesn't have to be just a single heart on each tab. You can double it up for sure. So I have my 3 hearts for my 3 tabs. And again, I'm just going to glue it on the front. I'm not gluing on the top. I'm just gluing on the front of these tabs. So I'm going to take, I think I'm going to do this heart on the side. So I'm going to take my glue stick and just add that glue to that tab, the front of that tab, not the top, the front of the tab. And glue my heart to it. So now, when I move my card, you can see that heart kind of goes along with that fold because it's on that front side. Finish gluing on the rest of my hearts here. Again, just adding the glue to the front of the tab. Not doing anything super fancy, right? So I have my heart pieces. And because my center tab is longer than my outside too, when I look at my hearts, they're kind of stacked nicely. So now I have my card piece. When I open it up, I can see my hearts. And this is great for, hand making cards, if you're wanting to send cards out, but it's also just kind of a fun thing to do in your journal. As I said, we're making hearts today, focusing on hearts today, but it can be any shape, really. If you want to do just a box that pops out, you can do that, or a square that pops out, or, any shape really works with this process. So we have our pop-up hearts here. One of the things that you can do with this piece is if you're wanting to give it as a gift, as a card, you'll notice that here we've got some see-through spaces, and that's okay. One way around that is to take another piece of paper and glue it to the outside so it kind of covers up those holes. So you'll see in my demo, my example here, you don't see the tabs in there, and it's because I layered up that red paper, right? So you don't see all the way through. And so that's one way to kind of get rid of the little holes that are in the card. Here we go. I do want to go over one more project. A 3D heart is one I want to kind of just go over somewhat quickly today. This one is a really fun process because all it is cutting out the same shape over and over again and then combining it to make this kind of 3D image. And so my example for that is this 3D heart here. And you can see it's just that heart shape that I cut out multiple times and glued together. So now I have this 3D shape, right? And again, this is something that you can do with other shapes too. It doesn't have to be the heart. But I'm gonna go ahead and kind of walk us through this process today as well. So there's another way to do these pop-up hearts. So we're gonna start off with this one that same way. I'm gonna start off with my basic card shape, taking it and folding it in half. And this is what I'm going to use as the outside of my card. Here it's a little smaller, but I'm going to use this as my outside. So when I have my hearts, I'll glue them to these sides, right? So once I make that card shape and I fold that in half, I'm going to set that aside. So the next step is to make that repeating image. And so what I'm going to do is start by taking another sheet of paper and cutting it in half. So I'm taking one piece of my construction paper today, and I'm going to cut it in half. So my one paper has turned into two. And then what I'm going to do is fold them in half again. So when it comes to cutting out my heart shape, I have my one piece of paper that I cut in half, and then I had two pieces from it. So I stacked them and then folded it in half again. And so what I'm going to do now is take one of those papers that I cut from my heart from earlier. I think I'm going to do this one. One of those papers, my magazine paper, that has that one single heart shape, the side of the heart. And I'm going to use that as my stencil. Right? And so I'm going to be using my marker, but you can of course use a pencil for that. And I'm just going to kind of trace that. And I'm going to trace about 3 of them because we're going to start, today we're going to be just working with 6 hearts total. So you can see I used, where I cut out my heart from the first pop-up, I used that as my stencil. So all my hearts are going to be the same, or at least close, close to each other. For this process, you want your shapes to be very close in size, as exact as you can get them. And it's because we're gluing them to themselves to make this one 3D shape. And so after I trace that out, I'm just going to take my scissors and cut through. You can do fewer hearts, you can do more hearts than this, but we're just doing 6 hearts today. So I cut out my shapes, and you can see that original paper. And this I'm actually going to save because I feel like I can use that for something. That's the hoarder in me coming out. I can use this for something. So I'm going to set that one aside and use that again. But after you get your heart pieces cut out, you notice you have 6. So what we're going to do is start to glue them together. And so because they're folded, I'm basically gluing one side of the heart and then stacking another heart on it, and then gluing that side and stacking another heart. So I'm layering it up. So here, I'm going to move my illustrated instructions out of the way. So I'm taking my glue stick, and I'm just adding that glue to one side of my folded heart. Okay. And then setting another heart, folded heart on top of it. And I want to line it up as best I can. So now I have the start of my 3D heart. And then I'm just going to keep layering it up, layering all 6 of them, putting glue on that one side, and then adding that other part. Adding that glue to the one side. And then layering. So I'm stacking those hearts basically. And you'll see as you're gluing them down, you're starting to get that 3D shape, right? And as I said, you can do 6 of them like we're doing today. You can do 26 of them and have a really, really packed heart, really full heart. But I've layered up all 6 of my hearts. And so you can see I have this 3D shape that's come from it. And so what I'll do after I have my 3D shape, my heart, I'm going to pull that card out that I folded in the beginning. And what I'm going to do is center this however I want it to be. I'm going to put it in the center. And I'm going to line the fold of my folded hearts up with the fold in the card. Okay. And take the glue and put glue on the top. And then very carefully fold that card over and press. And that's gluing one side in. Now the reason we're doing it this way is because we want to make sure those folds line up. So when we open it up, it opens that heart up too. So we have that one side glued down. I'll go to the back of that 3D heart and add that glue. And then very carefully fold that last side over and press. So when we open it up, we have that 3D shape. And you can see like it's literally just that same shape that's cut out over and over again. It's glued together to give it that 3D feel. So this is something that you can even add to our 3D card that we just made.